Angola, Rwanda, Nigeria, Morocco, Tunisia, and Ghana. A true born African.
Ethiopian Airline Group, the largest Pan-African aviation group, celebrated its 75th anniversary this year. Ethiopian Airlines made its maiden international flight on April 8, 1946 to Cairo. It has since gone on to be a highly coordinated hub carrier that uses its well-positioned Addis Ababa hub to target growing and increasingly important markets. It mainly focuses on connecting the Middle East, Asia, Europe, and North America with East, South, Central, and West Africa. To mark the 75 years in operation milestone, Ethiopian Airlines Group CEO Mr. Tewelde Gebremariam and Regional Director for Austria and Eastern Europe Mrs. Saba Gebremedin Kasaye were joined in Vienna by corporate partners and local stakeholders who included Vienna International Airport CEO Mr. Julian Jäger and Aviarep's CEO Mr. Michael Geibler, among other notable guests. This momentous event was moderated by Vienna International Airport's Head of Press and Company Spokesman, Mr. Peter Kleeman.
I'm very pleased to welcome you here to our press conference, Ethiopian Airlines together with Vienna Airport. Today, Ethiopian Airlines is celebrating its 75 years anniversary all over the world and its 7 years anniversary with the direct flight service from Addis Ababa to Vienna. For that reason, I would like to welcome the CEO of Ethiopian Airlines, Mr. Tewelde Gebremariam. I also would like to introduce the country manager for Austria and Central Eastern Europe, Mrs. Saba Gebremedin Kasaye. And the joint CEO and COO of Vienna Airport, Mr. Julian Jäger. Now I would like to hand over to Mr. Jäger for his statement, please.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gebremariam, a very good morning. I'm very happy that we have this nice occasion here to celebrate 75 years of Ethiopian Airlines, and at the same time we are celebrating 7 years of Ethiopian in Vienna. We had already a little celebration yesterday, and I think after 18 months of pandemic, it's great to have now a good reason for a celebration. And I think after all the mess which lies behind us, we are now looking forward for a better future, and a better future together in a strong partnership with Ethiopian Airlines.
Shortly after the press conference, we conducted interviews with the keynote speakers, Ethiopian Airlines Group CEO Mr. Tewelde Gebremariam, Vienna International Airport CEO Mr. Julian Jäger, Ethiopian Airlines Regional Director for Austria and Eastern Europe Mrs. Saba Gebremedin Kasaye, and Aviarep CEO Mr. Michael Geibler. I'm right here at the Hilton Plaza with Mr. Tewelde, the GCEO of Ethiopian Airlines, and he attributes a lot of success to Ethiopian Airlines, especially 4 pillars. If you could briefly tell us about these 4 pillars and why you think they are important for the growth that Ethiopian Airlines has seen.
Which one?
The 4 pillars of success.
The 4 pillars, because, we are still performing according to our Vision 2025. It's a strategic roadmap, 15 years strategic roadmap that we started in 2010. And as you said, the drivers were the 4 pillars. So the first one is human resource development, because aviation is a very highly skilled, labor intensive. So you need pilots, technicians, engineers, cabin crew, and so on. And in our continent, as you know, you don't get these skills in the market. So early on, we have the Aviation Academy, as old as the airline itself. So we invested in the last decade more than $100 million to expand it. So now we are self-sufficient in all the required skills except pilots. Although we are graduating like 300 Ethiopian pilots every single year, but still we have foreigners as in our pilot group. Otherwise, we are self-sufficient. We also support other airlines, the subsidiary airlines that I mentioned before. So human resource development is a very, very critical and the foundation of our airline. So that's one pillar. The second one is fleet. In the airline business, you have to get your fleet right. Otherwise, small mistake in fleet composition is a huge financial cost. So fleet commonality, we always manage as much as possible common fleet to reduce cost of operation, spare parts, training, maintenance, and so on. So we have the short haul, the 737. We don't mix any other fleet in that category. The domestic and regional, we have the Bombardier Q400. And then in the mid-range, we have the 787. In the long range, we have the 777 and A350. So because of our stretch all over the world, there is unavoidable diversity, but we are very careful in managing the fleet commonality. The third one is the infrastructure. In airlines in Europe and America, you don't see airline investing in infrastructure because there may not be a need. But back in our continent, aviation academy is important. Simulators are important. We have 8 of them to train our pilots, so we don't send our pilots to foreign countries for training. We are self-sufficient. Maintenance hangar, we have 5 maintenance hangars, engine overhaul, the airport, the cargo terminal. So it's not common in the airline industry for an airline to invest like more than $500 million on infrastructure. But we did it, and it helped us a lot. It is still helping us. The fourth pillar is the system. The policies, the procedures, the IT system, which brings all the other resources together. So we are now 100% paperless airline, both in back office and also front line. You can book airline tickets in Ethiopian Airlines website. You can purchase there. You can online check-in for your and save your boarding pass on your mobile. So it's completely contactless and paperless. It's a huge investment, and also all back offices, work, activities. So IT, we invested more than $100 million on IT. As I said, policies, procedures, and processes. So these are the pillars.
Right. And you mentioned 2 things and 2 actions that Ethiopian Airlines took during the pandemic. Why did you think this was important, and that also attributed to Ethiopian Airlines staying afloat?
During the pandemic, as you know, almost all airlines, both in Africa and the rest of the world, had to depend on government bailout, including airlines in Africa. But Ethiopian Airlines didn't have this opportunity because it's very big airline for the Ethiopian economy to bail it out. So the only survival kit for us was to find means and ways to generate income to sustain the airline as a matter of survival. So as I said, necessity is the mother of invention. So if you don't have any other alternative, you find any means to survive. So at that time, when we find most of our passenger planes were grounded because countries closed their borders and passengers were not traveling, we just found ourselves in a situation where more than 90% of our passenger planes were grounded in Addis. So the only way out at that time was cargo. But fortunately, because of a very good business model that we followed in Vision 2025, so we were already the largest cargo operator in Africa and in the region, with 10 777 freighters, 3 737 freighters, but the demand for cargo was more than that. Because passenger airplanes were not flying and the belly hold capacity is not there. So on the other hand, the demand was growing because of PPE, medical supplies requirement by African countries, European countries, and mainly from China. So we saw that and we had to make a very quick decision, a very fast. So in 24 hours, we have removed the seats from 25 wide-body airplanes and make them available for cargo. That has helped us, and we still continue to do that. And the cargo market is still growing because, unfortunately, in the sea freight, you must have heard in the media that it is a lot of challenges. Ports are not operating at their full scale. There is container shortage in sea freight, so a lot of demand is coming to air freight. So that has continued, and just to give you numbers, our cargo tonnage grew from 500,000 tons a year in 2019 to 800 tons in 2020. So in 2021 also it's growing. Likewise, our cargo revenue has more than doubled, although we lost revenue on the passenger side, but we doubled our cargo revenue. So the cargo is also very profitable. So that way, we didn't take any bailout money. We might be the only exception in the world. We didn't lay off employees. We were not forced to reduce salary. And we continue to with profitability.
All right, and the final question. You mentioned that the commitment of the management team. You mentioned as well you have been with Ethiopian Airlines for a very long time. Would you say there's a sense of family and togetherness that keeps the team?
Yeah. Because most of us, as I said in the press conference, we are about 17 or 18 in the management team, and we have been knowing each other or working together for more than 20 years. So there is a closeness, togetherness, family, as you said. That bondage, helps you, especially in a time of crisis like the pandemic. And the commitment, most of us do not work for paycheck at Ethiopian Airlines. It's a national mission and a very successful mission. And success breeds itself, as you know. So you're right.
Right. Final question. The government supports you in a very unique way, and we don't see this happening for a lot of airlines in Africa. Would you encourage other African governments to borrow a lift from what the Ethiopian government has shown?
Yes, that's a very, very important question, an important message to our colleagues in Africa, especially governments. It doesn't help if you give money to an airline because it will be squandered and it doesn't bring efficiency. And unless you have internal efficiency, some kind of support, financial support, will not take you long. But the best message to governments in Africa, as a person who has been working in the airline business for the last 37 years, is do not interfere in the management of airlines. Look at SAA, a very good airline, a very good product. But we have lost it for more than a year. I think now they are trying to start a new one. Why? Because too much interference, political interference in the board, in the management. So the Ethiopian government, not only the current one, but successive governments allowed the airline to manage its business by professionals. They keep us responsible and accountable, but they also give us the authority. So that is, I would say, the foundation or fundamental decision making which should be done by governments. Kenya Airways used to be private, and Kenya Airways was growing, profitable, very good years, but Kenya Airways has been suffering for the last so many years, and I would say not much of political interference, but also management and the surrounding environment with the labor unions and so on. So we used to have Nigeria Airways, as you know, Air Afrika, Ghana Airways, Zambia Airways. These were very successful airlines, but they all failed because of unnecessary and undesired interference from politicians in the government. So I think this is very, very important.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Tawalde. I really appreciate, and I wish you a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am standing with Mr. Yeager, who is in the management board of Vienna International Airport, and I would like to ask, what is the most important thing about the collaboration of VIE and Ethiopian Airlines?
We enjoy now an excellent cooperation for the last 7 years. Ethiopian started in 2014 to serve Vienna, and I think it was a success story from the start, even though now obviously for the last 18 months the pandemic hit the operation, but we are very grateful that Ethiopian was flying to Vienna throughout the whole pandemic. I think the most important thing is that two hubs are connected. So I think Addis is the gateway to Africa for all the people in Vienna and Austria. And on the other hand, we would like to be the gateway to Eastern Europe, Central and Eastern Europe for the people in Ethiopia. And I think this cooperation works very well so far.
I'm delighted to have Ms. Saba, the area country manager of Ethiopian Airlines in Vienna. Thank you for taking your time to talk with us today. I would like to ask about Vienna, the Ethiopian Airlines in Vienna, your current destinations and also the future destinations that you are planning to fly to.
Thank you. Today we're celebrating our 75th anniversary and 7 years service to and from Vienna. And thank you for being part of our celebration. We've been flying to Vienna starting from 2014, continuously without ceasing any flights. Even during the pandemic time, we only ceased our flight for 2 months, and we have continued. We have 4 times a week frequency currently. We have a connection to 130 destinations throughout the world. So 5 hours and a half flight from Vienna to Addis Ababa. Our flight is around 10:35, so you can reach in Addis in the morning, sleeping, and then connecting to any destinations in Africa. We have a plan of expanding our networks in the whole Europe, but Vienna is our main hub. We consider Vienna as our main hub in Eastern Europe for connecting passengers from Africa and the rest of the world to Eastern Europe. So we consider Vienna as our hub.
All right. And what would you say has attributed the success of Ethiopian Airlines, especially in Europe, considering the fact that we don't have any other African airlines in Vienna specifically?
Yes. We have a diversified strategy. We want to be the bridge to connect Africa and the world. So we want to be the pioneer, the leading airline, and we were actually to be here in Austria as well. So, and also in most of the Europe countries, we were the pioneer African airline to be present and connect the passengers to and from Africa. So we will expand that. We want to make sure that the people in Europe and the rest of the world can know the beauty of the unraveled beauty of Africa. We have many things to show, and the world should come and see it through us, and we want to provide this opportunity to the people. Even last year, at the COVID time, we were at the forefront of the battle of COVID by risking our lives, of course, our crew's lives, by risking our lives, but to be there for the people, to be with the people. So we've been repatriating around 60,000 people with their loved ones. We've been transporting the medical supplies and also the more than 50 million doses of vaccines. And this is a great accomplishment for us, not only in terms of the revenue, but also to be as a humanitarian activity, to be there for the people. And this is also our core mission to continue with.
Yeah, and the final question, 75 years is not an easy feat. What would you say is the secret of Ethiopian Airlines lasting that long, and especially being the most successful airline in Africa?
75 years, young, yes. It's actually a long time, but the secret behind this is the commitment, the resilience, the agility of the management and the employees of the airline. We all consider Ethiopian Airlines African airline. We consider Ethiopian as an African airline. Ethiopian Airlines is our own. Ethiopian Airlines is for the survival of Africa. So we all, as a management staff, as an employee, we make sure that the airline survives. We make sure that the airline flies carrying the flag throughout the world. And that's the key, a commitment, dedication, resilience, and agility.
I am delighted to be standing with Mr. Michael, who is going to introduce himself and tell us a bit about the 75 years of Ethiopian Airlines, as well as a collaboration of Ethiopian Airlines and the Vienna International Airport. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
Yes, my name is Michael Gabler, and I'm the chairman of Aviareps, and Aviareps is the general sales agent of Ethiopian Airlines in Austria, but also a number of European and American countries. We are delighted to celebrate today the 75th birthday of Ethiopian Airlines, which is one of our absolutely biggest and most important and great clients.
And what do you think the trajectory of Ethiopian Airlines is, not only as having a hub in Vienna, but as well as other parts of Europe?
Well, Ethiopian Airlines is strategically so well positioned, having a strategy trying to catch in a hub of Addis all the European traffic connecting into Africa and parts of Asia, Middle East. There's a number of flights besides of Vienna within Europe, and the airline has still the right strategy to expand also. Not only in days of the crisis, have been one of the few carriers keeping online routes alive, but also their strategy is clear to enlarge their network within Europe.
And which other destinations are possible in the coming future?
Well, we would have some things in mind. We are working on that. We call that in an offline area that we are acting in different countries where we are their GSA, which are not yet online. We're trying to prepare the grounds, trying to increase the awareness of the company and the revenue production, so that in the medium term they start flying into it. Logically, Eastern Europe is very much in the focus, and it's in the backyard of Austria as well. Ethiopian is serving Russia. I would call Moscow still Europe. Consequently, that's Eastern Europe. They have already flights too, but there's other countries in the neighboring area where I think it would be very much worth it to start flying into.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. If not, I think it's time to celebrate now. And I would like to ask Mr. Zewolden, Mr. Jäger, and Mrs. Saba to come in front of the podium.
This is a horse running, right?
Absolutely.
And gift to Julian. You can open it. It looks like from this beautiful country. Ethiopian Orthodox Christian priest with his cross.
This is the cross?
Yes.
Very impressive.
It's a cake.
Do it together.
Yeah.
And that wraps up our report on Ethiopian Airlines' 75 years of excellence as commemorated in Vienna, Austria. For Radio Africa TV, I am Hortensia Mushai.